Here's the thing that nobody tells you about running a consulting business, especially your own. You can be smart, hardworking, and still completely wrong about what to do next. I had 2 calls last week that proved this very point. Hi, I'm Paul, and welcome to episode 647. It's just you and I today. And I spoke to 2 consultants, both mid to high 6 figures, both technically brilliant, both stuck. The first one told me I would pay someone a lot of money just to tell me what I did wrong in the last 12 months. The second one said I outgrew my mastermind group. Everyone else was still solopreneur, or they just weren't in the growth phase while I was trying to scale. So 2 very different businesses, different parts of the world, but ultimately the same problem. They're making strategic decisions in isolation. One's a Salesforce partner with 7 odd people in Eastern Europe. They've built an enrichment product. They're profitable. They've got good margins, and they specialize in a very specific niche. The other's an Airtable partner in the UK. They just landed a fantastic blue chip client, and they're building an offshore team in another country. On paper, they're winning. But here's what they're actually dealing with. The first consultant can't figure out if they should stick with the niche or expand. They've built a product, but they're not quite sure if they should double down on it or not. They've tried everything over the last 12 months, like I said, outbound conferences, LinkedIn promotions. Nothing's really working consistently. The second consultant is wrestling with whether to give away equity to someone that's working in the business, and also whether they should continue to get leads from their biggest partner, which is Airtable. And he knows he really can't rely on this forever. You know, it's sort of like he's drinking the Kool-Aid. It's fantastic, but he knows at some point it's going to run out. But when does he really push the button to do other things? And both are competent enough to execute whatever they decide. But are they deciding the right thing? The real problem isn't tactics. It's not another marketing strategy or another networking event. The problem is isolation in your thinking. You're brilliant at solving client problems. You can architect complex solutions all day long. But when it comes to your own business, you're sometimes flying blind. Sure, you've got a supportive partner at home, some casual mentors, you may be even in a peer group, a peer mastermind, but none of them are challenging your fundamental assumptions. None of them have seen the exact pattern play out over 50 times before. First consultant is debating the niche, as I said, versus product focus, but he doesn't have anyone who can tell him, I've watched 10 consultants make this exact choice. Here's exactly what works. The second consultant, as I said, is figuring out equity splits and offshore hiring, but his peer group already told him that they can't help because they're only solopreneurs. This is where being smart becomes dangerous. You're smart enough to realize any direction, right? That's cool. And you're also smart enough to find supporting evidence for whatever you want to believe. But you don't have someone who can say, hey, stop, I've seen this before. This is what happens if you go down this path. When you make strategic decisions without an outside perspective, here's what typically happens. You waste 12 months going in the wrong direction. Not because you're incompetent or unskilled. It's because you don't have someone who could see the movie ending before you lived it. Most consultants told me, we tried so many different things. We really pushed hard, but we're missing feedback from the market. Translation, they've been throwing tactics at the wall for a year without someone telling them that they're solving the wrong problem. You stay stuck at your current revenue level. You're working harder than ever before, trying different things, but nothing compounds because you're not addressing the root cause, the root issue. Another consultant outgrew his mastermind, like I said. Good for him. But now he's making multi-million-dollar decisions, equity, offshore teams, pipeline strategy, without anyone who's actually navigated these successfully before. So what happens? Your confidence erodes. You start questioning yourself. Why isn't this working? Everyone else seems to have figured it out. And here's the brutal part. Your supportive partner at home, they're watching you struggle. They're carrying more of the financial load while you're trying to figure it all out. Whether it be paying off the mortgage or having another child, for example, the stakes are real and they're critical. So what's the solution? You need someone who brings 3 things you can't get anywhere else. First, pattern recognition across multiple businesses like yours. I'm not guessing what might work. I've mentored hundreds of tech consultants. I've seen your exact situations dozens of times. When the first consultant told me about the product and the niche challenges, I knew immediately, double down on the data enrichment product, because I know enough in that space to know that it's definitely going to work, and expand beyond travel. Why? Because I've watched it, right? I've seen it repeatedly. When the second consultant talked about their Airtable or their partner dependency, I knew they've got about a 6-week window before it runs dry. We need to build your own pipeline right now. No theory, pattern recognition. The second is permission to challenge your assumptions. Your spouse or partner supports you. Your peer group is very polite. The casual mentors give you fantastic general advice. I'm going to tell you where you're wrong, not because I'm harsh or I want to upset you, because I care about the outcome more than being liked. The first consultant is wrestling with whether to stay in the niche or expand. Wrong question. The question is, which move multiplies your impact without multiplying your hours? The second consultant is debating equity percentages with the technical partner. I told him flat out, don't do it. Not yet. And here's why. And I gave him the explanation. The third one is execution frameworks or playbooks that compress time. I've got over 34 years of experience condensed into systems, right? That's the way that I work. And yes, working in the Coca-Cola company for nearly 20 years sort of brought around those systems. You know, I've said in the past, simple product, but a very complicated but effective system. You know, that's why they've been around so long. So, you know, I built and sold my own tech business, which, you know, I ran at Coke. I ran, $300 million P&Ls myself, and I also was involved in billion-dollar acquisitions. But more importantly, what I've done is built an AI engine. I call it Bren, and that's short for Brendan, who gave me my transplant kidney. And what it does is it's gone through and I've put all of my calls, my resources, my books, my patterns from real-world situations, and I've put it all into one area. I call it Bren, and that's where I help you, and it gets you really quick outcomes. And the great thing is it doesn't hallucinate, or it doesn't use information that's not relevant to you, right? All this is relevant exactly to you. So when you say, I need to figure out my partner equity structure, I don't give you, go and research it here, or, give you what ChatGPT or Claude or anything else would give you. I build you a framework in, less than 30 minutes, and we iterate it together for your specific circumstances. When you say, I want to build my own playbook, I give you the exact playbook that's working for other partners right now. And of course, we customize it for you. So both consultants in these calls will figure it out eventually, as I said before. The question is, how much time and revenue are you willing to lose while you figure it out alone? Here's what I see that they can't. First, consultant needs to stop hedging. The product is the multiplier. Double down, use the services revenue to fund product growth. The niche can expand once your product has traction with the specific area that he's in. The second needs to hire a couple of people in Africa, not one, and navigate the equity conversation with clear boundaries, or don't do it at all, which is my advice, and build a pipeline strategy that isn't dependent on one specific account manager or one specific person that at the moment loves this person and is giving him lots of work. But what happens if he leaves, which is quite probable? As you know, a lot of account executives within our ecosystems don't last that long, or they get promoted out. So these aren't guesses, these are patterns. So here's my question exactly for you. What decision are you making right now in isolation that could cost you the next 12 months? What would it be worth to you to have someone that's seen your exact pattern 50 times or more and tell you, here's what happens if you go and do that or go and follow that direction? That's what I do. That's what I do for a living. I'm not there cheerleading you on. I'm not giving you theory, right, or outputs from AI that is irrelevant. What I'm doing is looking at those patterns, I'm recognizing them, I'm giving you frameworks and playbooks that work, and I'm willing to tell you what you need to hear. So, if you're stuck making strategic decisions in isolation, you can do a couple of key things. One is go and watch my training, which is on the homepage of my website, paulhigginsmentoring.com, and we'll have the link below, but that's pretty easy. If you want to talk through your specific situation, because, these two people had very different problems that I helped them navigate through. You can just go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/apply, so APPLY, and then we can see if it's a right fit for you and I to work together. And I must emphasize that I've got a unique model, and that's what these two people loved, is I do group that's one-on-one, if this makes sense. It's a hybrid. So what I do is we set up a plan, we make sure that plan's 100% right for you, and then we do weekly check-ins. And the great thing is you get to see everyone else in the group. There's normally groups of up to 8 people. You get to see and hear their progress against the plan as well. And the brilliant thing is they can share their experience, and you can learn a lot by others that are going through a similar journey to what you're doing. So if you know a consultant and you know that they're brilliant but they're stuck at their current level, also share this episode with them. I'm sure they'll really thank you for it. I'll see you next time on my solo show, the Paul Higgins Podcast. What stood out to you from today's conversations? Look, building a consulting practice that doesn't resolve around you isn't easy, but it's possible. The consultants and the experts I interview have proven that. Every week I share insights from those conversations, practical strategies from people who've actually done it or help others do it. If you want to learn more from this experience, get my newsletter at paulhigginsmentoring.com/newsletter. Just practical stuff from consultants who's figured it all out. And if this was helpful, share it with another consultant. We're all trying to crack the same code. Thanks for listening.